Good evening and welcome back to Drakkenheim. This is the Dungeon Dudes weekly Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition live stream campaign. My name is Monty Martin, running our game tonight as Dungeon Master.
And I'm Kelly McLaughlin, playing Wilhelm von Kessel, the human swashbuckler rogue, and we're joined today by our good friends.
Jill the Nidus, playing Veosenia, the Tabaxi Gloomstalker Ranger Rogue.
And Joel Gorman, playing Pluto Jackson, the human battlemaster.
Thank you for joining us once again. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. We're the Dungeon Dudes. Kelly and I post new videos every other Tuesday and every Thursday on our YouTube channel where we cover everything D&D, including advice for players and guides for GMs. So hit us up on YouTube.
You can also join us on Tuesday nights when we record the campaign live on Twitch. You can check us out from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/dungeon_dudes. You can also watch the video episodes of the show on YouTube or check us out as an audio-only podcast.
And as always, you can also get copies of our book, Dungeons of Drakkenheim, or pre-order Sebastian Crow's Guide to Drakkenheim by hitting up Drakkenheim.com, which will take you to the Ghostfire Gaming store. Now, we are very excited because this is our last game session of 2022, but Fate of Drakkenheim will be continuing after a break for the holidays, as we take time to spend time with, have the family Christmas, do all that good stuff, ring in the new year, and we will be coming back on January 17th for all of you that watch our show during the live stream. However, things will be a little bit different when we come back in 2023, because we will be back in the basement again. And so we will be bringing things back together again and playing together in person once more from the basement studio. However, there is a catch. Episodes of Drakkenheim will no longer be actual live streams. They will be pre-recorded broadcasts that we will be filming at another time. We will still be streaming the show for its debut each week at the usual time, probably going back to the 6 o'clock time slot, but that won't be us actually playing, because with all the things that have changed in all of our lives between moving and babies and work and life, actually playing in person together on a Tuesday night is pretty much unfeasible for us. So by changing this format, we will be able to play in person together once again. We will be recording the sessions at a time that will vary. And so this is why we are not going to be live streaming the recordings anymore, because essentially we need a dynamic schedule for our recording so that we can figure out the best times for us to record. The good news about this is that Kyle will have a lovely edit for everybody. We will still be in there with chat watching along with you when it goes live. And all the schedules will change. Because we don't interact with chat too much, we hope that all of our Twitch people, you're not feeling like you're going to miss out on anything too much. It's going to still be the same show. It will just be...
I'm probably still going to be in chat.
Oh, I will be too, as well. Yeah. Right?
So you'll actually hear from us.
Us in chat.
Yeah, you'll hear us more in chat.
Yes, it will just be playing back the prior recording with all that. So this will be a... hopefully you don't even notice. We thought very carefully about this, and it's the most feasible way for us to continue playing together in person, which we miss very, very much. But it just means that we'll have to essentially we'll be recording on odd times on the weekend, and we're not really sure. It doesn't look like it'll be consistently recorded, but it won't be at a consistent necessarily time that we can sync that up. So we're really looking forward to it. We're really excited about this change. It will also allow us to do some interesting things with our production values. And so for those of you that are wondering, I also did a lot of research about how other productions such as Critical Role and Dimension 20, which basically work on the same model as well, are doing this. And so having those kind of models to look at for how they do it, hopefully is going to give us some stability and some proven models to draw on for when we make this change as well. So it'll be hopefully more of the same, and it won't feel too different, even though it'll be kind of different behind the scenes on our side.
If I can add, there's 3 things that I think are major benefits to this for everybody. Number 1 is we have been known to have to cancel last minute because of tech issues, internet issues, audio issues sometimes, and all of those are going to be alleviated by the fact that we can troubleshoot and film separately. You're going to get better camera angles on the miniatures and terrain, so you can actually see what's going on better, because we're going to be able to manage that without interfering with the fact that we're live. And we're going to have more consistency, because instead of us being like, oh, somebody's sick and needs to take a week off, well, we can still film when we can and prepare those videos for launch. So you're going to get far less random breaks from us and far more consistency in our show.
There's a double-edged sword to this, that we are still hammering out some details. It may result that episodes are slightly shorter. Rather than being about 2 hours and 45 minutes, they might be closer to 2:15 or 2.5. It depends on how the new production schedule works out. But the flip side of this is that because of the added consistency on our schedule, we did 25 episodes of Fate of Drakkenheim this year, plus our other stuff. And previous years, we did about 30 to 40 episodes. And so we're hoping, fingers crossed, hoping, not promising, hoping that this new model will actually allow us to more consistently do in the range of 40 to 45 episodes over the course of the whole year. So there will be shorter individual episodes, but more episodes overall. That's kind of the hope. So will the break be still edited in or edited out? We don't know yet. We're gonna experiment with a few things and make some decisions as the first edits come out. But either way, we look forward to hearing all your feedback on how that transitions over. So enjoy this evening, because this is going to be possibly, at least for 2022, the last time we live stream in this format this year. And then we will be back in the dungeon in 2023.
The dungeon.
Yeah. So but with that, let us return to the world of Drakkenheim.
Drakkenheim is no more. The devastation which fell upon that accursed place left a kingdom in ruin. Now, horrors lurking in the haze grow ever more great and terrible, while simmering tensions between rival factions boil over into outright war. The power of monarchs, mages, and priests hangs in the balance. 6 unlikely heroes join forces to confront the coming chaos. They shall decide, once and for all, the fate of Drakkenheim.
Welcome back to Drakkenheim. When last we left our heroes, Veo, Pluto, and Wilhelm were in the midst of the Gasconade here in the Cathedral of St. Fiona in the free city of Liberio. Our heroes are pleading their case to win the Caspian duel over their rivals in the Silver Order, led by the valiant High Paladin Uriel Radley. As they plead their case or brag about their accomplishments before the High King of Caspia, Venus Joplin. Following your recent regaling of your tales, Uriel Radley has a perturbed look upon his face. He furrows his brow, shakes his head, and sort of leans on his massive warhammer as he says, "Now, I don't want to cause too much of a fuss, but I feel like I have not been able to get a word in edgewise against these three. Is it not my place and my companion's place to be able to speak of our accomplishments on the field of valor?" And Venus Joplin, she puts her hands on her hips, and she has a look of disdain at Uriel Radley as she says, "If you can't get a word in edgewise, then maybe you should have a little bit more boldness in your language. It makes me question the boldness of your own actions, Uriel Radley. What do you think, Pluto Jackson?"
I think his accomplishments have said far more than anything that could come out of his mouth. A measly prize brought before the High King. Not even a real monster, but a nuisance, something that a bird would eat. This is over. This is over. I think we all know who the true monster slayers are. And I try to get a rise out of the crowd.
Many of the assembled hosts begin to clap and cheer, although there are many amongst the assembled Silver Order who there's a little bit of a boo in the undertone of it. And
I feed on you. I eat your booze.
I feed on your booze.
Hate me or love me, I grow stronger.
And it's then that one of Uriel Radley's companions, a lightly armored cavalier named Sir Mallory, he steps up and he says, "Now, no, I don't think that's fair. To speak ill of the High Paladin of the Silver Order. Now, he may be a humble man, a man of humility, a man of faith, a man who does allow his actions to speak for him. And I was there with him on the field of battle. I was with him on this. And you may speak ill of this monstrous creature that we brought back, but you may not speak ill of the bravery and the might of the High Paladin. How dare you question that?"
I see this is your first Gasconade.
Yeah, yo, man, relax. Like it's all just like reel it in. Just like get into it.
You see Mallory Granick, his face turns a little bit red at that, and he says, "Now, I've fought beside Uriel Radley, for I've given decades of my life to the Silver Order. And over that time, the things that we have faced, things that we have seen, I must say, the horrors that we saw in that city, well, they just put all that in a whole different light, don't they?" And to that, he says, "I would follow Uriel Radley into the deepest darkness to bring that light, the light that we all believe in. And if it were not for him, I don't know if we would have come out of that alive." And Flamekeeper Sheila, the other member of the Uriel's trio, she comes forward and she says, "It's true. The only reason why we walked away from that dragon. Well, you should have been there to see it. Sir Mallory was astride his griffin, and he charged forward at that beast, with all the fury of a raging flame heading towards it. And of course, I was there on my griffin, Uriel Radley astride his, and the three of us came up together in that formation. The formation that we've practiced 100 times. The one that's brought down dragons many times before. But that mutated clockwork beast that prowls over that forsaken castle, it was like there was another sense all around it. And it slapped its tail hard against Mallory Grannick's steed, sending him flying through the air. And that was when Uriel Radley himself dove from his griffin, chain in hand, to swoop up and grab our companion. Because we in the Silver Order, we don't turn our backs on each other. We don't betray each other, even in the heat of battle. We don't leave anyone behind. We don't leave anyone to death. No one. We would all give our lives for each other. But we'd be damned if we let each other actually give them.
I mean, I don't think that is any different from our group. We have each other's backs as well. So I don't know what's so amazing about saving your companions. I think what was interesting is we saw, the tail end of that fight, but we saw you run away. Oh, the tail end. We saw you run away from that beast, that dragon that shot you down.
Yeah, if I do recall, there was an attack on Wilhelm during our duel, and it was Veo who sacrificed herself to ensure our great king stood. And that was in between monsters.
Mallory Granick smirks and he says, "Now, don't brag about that too much. I have it on good authority that you've run away from that dragon several times yourselves."
What I will say to that is that's why we were smart enough to not go after the dragon and to find a monster that we could conquer and did conquer. What I hear from your story, friends, paladins, is that you tried your classic formation and failed. That the two of you barely contributed to the fight. Uriel Radley, as you stated, was the only one, and if it wasn't for him, you would have died. Meanwhile, in our battle, all three of us contributed equally to the slaying of Big Linda. That makes us stronger as a force. The other two barely contributed. You barely escaped that battle by the skin of your teeth, and you fled to find a smaller creature to fight. One whose whole body just fit through that door, barely.
Now
but we have a head that's almost as big as that worm.
Shakes his head. Says, "We brought back the whole beast. And you know as well as I do. You know as well as I do," Uriel Radley says, that crater is a greater place of madness than that castle is. You look me in the eye and you tell me that crater is not the most maddening place you've ever been to. Do any of you dare to do it?
I don't need to. It's not about the place you went. It's about the monster you brought back. That's what this Gasconade is about. And yes, these two have been there. Tell them your experience.
My mind was forever changed. Up is down, black is white. I have to think backwards all the time now. I eat with the wrong side of a knife now. I don't know what else to tell you. But then I carried on. And I did this before the duel, okay? I've been managing, been coping with a lot. After touching that, after seeing that rock in there.
And what happened to you Did you face down a monster like we did when you were in the crater?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And then we survived and went, that's not big enough. We need to go bigger.
And did you slay it?
It ran away. But
so
hey,
you let it get away.
Killing it was not our primary objective.
Just like you ran away from the dragon. Look, we can do circles around this. I'm just staring at two monstrous prizes that sit
Pluto,
before us.
there's a difference. They're bringing up a battle that happened that had nothing to do with this Gasconade, where our objective had nothing to do with slaying a monster in the crater. Had that been our primary objective, it would have been a different story. We're talking about the Gasconade, where you fled from your first monster and faced a second. When the monster fled from us, or from them in the crater, they were there on other business. Fending off the monster was the objective. Therefore, a success.
The, Uriel Radley says, well, all I'm saying is that if you're trying to belittle the accomplishments of me and my companions, you best look at yourselves a little bit and what you've weathered through that storm. What you've defeated is no doubt impressive, but I don't think that you really brave. Like, I don't know if you would have been able to do what we did and make it out alive. I don't know. I don't really believe that the three of you could have gone into that crater and come out with the corpse of that beast. Now, of course, you all brought back a large creature, but you didn't necessarily have to go to the most dangerous part of the city to get it. It was big, sure, but I've seen a lot of beasts that are big, but not necessarily dangerous over my time. You know, you can see a lot of big fellas, but you give them one good punch, they got a glass jaw. Maybe it was that beastie of yours looks big, but it wasn't so tough at all.
Well, I think you may say that the crater is the most dangerous place to go in the city. But again, did your monster regenerate itself based on where it was in the city? You had one strike against it from what I'm seeing, and it fell to the ground. Ours, we had to kill and move and kill and move and kill and get it to a place where it was able to be slain fully, because the very air that it breathed brought life back into it.
Venus Joplin says, so is it really dead then?
It is dead.
Now it is.
It is dead where it lays right there, and I point to it.
But we could not kill it once, not twice, nay, 3 times. We killed it 1,000 times. 1,000 deaths and 1,000
But if you were to
resurrections
bring it back into the ruins of the city, presumably it would regenerate once more?
Just like any magic can bring back those who are dead. Even the Silver Order has myths in their history that their soldiers would come back from the dead. Magic is, in many ways, can do this to many different situations.
But there's always a counter strategy, of course. I've slain more than a few trolls in my day, and I know that once you burn them, they're not coming back, no matter where they are. Perhaps there is some sort of weakness that you haven't discovered with this creature.
I would argue that we did find the weakness. It was removing the creature from the habitat that regenerates it. That's no different than burning a troll.
Interesting observation. Burning a troll, removing it from its habitat.
Removing its very life essence.
I believe it.
Charging a worm into a giant rock of delirium. That's a weakness. most of us, I don't think, could survive that.
I believe I've heard enough. I feel that it is time for me and our other judges to retire so that we can make a firm decision amongst ourselves and I can hear from them exactly what they saw. They were there on the field, and I will hear their stories of what has actually happened. Then we will decide how we will cast our votes. This has been a pleasant gasconade for some involved.
Yeah.
Gasconade!
Gasconade!
Wilhelm flexes. It's average.
Give it up for the big
With
Linda.
that, Venus Joplin, as well as Elias Drexel, Petra, Ophelia Reed, and the other Flamekeeper retire to one of the side chambers of the cathedral to deliberate. Meanwhile,
oh no, go ahead.
as the chamber begins to enter and enters into its recess, no one is certain how long these deliberations will take. But what do you do?
If I may, I approach Uriel Radley
Okay.
and I reach out my hand to shake his, and I say, Uriel, excellent job in Drakkenheim.
He takes your hand, shakes it. Well done yourself, Your Majesty.
You're quite the monster slayer. Very impressive.
Indeed. Perhaps I underestimated the necessity to talk the talk. I've been more someone that walks the walk, in my belief.
I have rules about that. This was out of my comfort zone as well, Uriel, but I'd say we both did the best we could.
I think so. I will abide whatever the jury decides. I just like to Venus Joplin is quite a lady, but she is only one of 5 votes. So,
Regardless of how this turns out, Uriel, it will be an honor to someday have you by my side in a battle. I think that we could do a lot of good.
I walk up behind you as you say
I'm coming
this,
up too.
and I say, Uriel, you did a fine job with the worm, but I hope that this shows you that there are bigger, problems to worry about than the past that our two nations have had with one another. Sebastian is not the biggest, trouble in everything that's going on in our kingdom.
As Uriel moves to speak, but another figure approaches. The man is a larger man with chubby cheeks, little bit of a pockmarked dark brown skin, and he is garbed in in the finest Illyrian silks. Rings across all of his fingers, and a thin circlet placed upon his balding brow. As he approaches, another knight of the Silver Order presents, Your Majesty, Wilhelm von Kessel, may I present to you the Lord Regent, Polonius Reed. And the Lord Regent says, Now, I must apologize to you first, Wilhelm von Kessel. We have allowed Uriel Radley and the Silver Order to take you off on a bit of a wild goose chase. that is distracted from the vital affairs of state that must happen between our nations. I must be frank with you. Well, Uriel Radley will certainly honor the terms of this agreement. I need to remind you that the results of this duel do not give you the carte blanche to negotiate with Illyria.
I understand that. For me, this duel is to save one of our comrades' lives and to prove to the Silver Order that we are worth the weight of our words. That is all.
Certainly, but you must understand that you have... This has been a complicated factor, and I must apologize to you regarding this. Because, you see, you've been negotiating with 3 people, well, 3 entities. Even though not all of them, it's a delicate situation, you must understand. Because you've been dealing with the Silver Order on one hand, our faith on another, and Illyria in the third. All 3 of these things are the pillars of our great nation. But they must all have a seat at the table. And I feel like I was very struck by your words that were relayed to me about the lack of my presence at our first meeting. And I wanted to apologize for that personally. And I want you to know that there will be more direct dealings between us in the name of peace.
Lord Regent, it pleases me to hear that, and I look forward to discussing how we can better our nations and deal with the crisis at hand together.
There are several crises, and I would enjoy a good debate with you, Your Majesty, over the exact ways that these crises should be handled. The way that I see it, there are several different decisions that need to be made all together, and they have a way of overlapping one another in ways that perhaps they need not.
I agree. I'm interested in hearing what valuable advice you may have, but I hope you too will honor that I may have something to offer here as well. But before we do jump into these debates, I will be upfront with you that currently in Westamar, I am stepping up to ownership of what I would call a broken home. And I need to do some house cleaning before we really decide how to move forward.
I need you to know that Uriel Radley here and the Divine Matriarch are, well, a bit of a roaring flame to hold back, if you understand my meaning.
I do.
And, well, it's, Westamar's been a wreck for 15 years. And it's starting to affect more than just Westamar. And so, I look at it as an issue that affects all of our nations. And if you aren't able to get your house in order, I want to remind you that we will do what must be done to protect the interests and the people of Illyria.
Lord Regent, I want to remind you that everything you just said align with my goals as well. So having your backing in getting Westamar together could go a long way to align my nation under the idea that this is something that affects the whole continent, and we need to work together.
Very well. But if you're going to work with us, you're going to do it our way.
How is that fair? If you're going to work with us, we need to meet in the middle.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Westamar doesn't have a very good track record right now. And we've seen how your father and your aunt ripped your nation apart. We've seen how it's been largely lawless for the past better half of a decade. And I just want to offer to you that maybe your way isn't working too well.
Rule number 84, Polonius Reed. Do not condemn a person for the sins of their ancestors. What my aunts and uncles and fathers and mothers did to this nation were lessons that I take to heart. I will do better.
With respect, Your Majesty, but did your daddy teach you those rules?
Hey! I grab Wilhelm, give him a big old grab around his shoulder. Now I think it's fair to give this soon-to-be king a shot. He's inherited a broken region. Okay? You've got, this is a place of turmoil. It's not like he developed this. He was handed a scorched earth. This region isn't torn apart by frivolous infighting. It was torn apart by a giant rock from space. He is the one thing that can glue this back together. And I don't doubt for a second that this man right here isn't going to be the bonding. He is the ability to bring Westamar back to its righteous place. And if you're willing to work with us, we can kill more than just monsters. We can kill the biggest monster of all. Indifference.
I mean, I must say, it is a very significant factor for me that House Jackson has decided to throw in with you, King Wilhelm, because, I mean, of course, House Jackson has a very strong reputation for good decisions and rational thought.
Thank you, Polonius Reed. That's the nicest first thing I've ever heard about that.
I turned to Veo and I'm just like, while Pluto's saying that, I'm like, was that sarcasm?
Yes, 100%.
The mighty House Jackson and Wilhelm von Kessel, the von Kessels and the Jacksons will create a great unity.
I'm very, very certain they will. And I hope that you can understand that is precisely my concern.
I'm going to say this as if I didn't know that he was being sarcastic. I'm like, so Polonius, it's good to see that you are aware of the position House Jackson has had in every great Caspian war where their borders have rarely fell. They've defended their nation honorably. And when the time came, House Jackson made up majority of the foot soldiers, the sword and shields, who were at the front lines of those battles. They are a powerful family. And yes, they are aligned with me on this.
This guy knows his history.
I am proficient.
Your ancestors would certainly know the folly of trying to invade Caspia, wouldn't they?
Yes. we should all be allies. Caspia, Westamar, and Illyria.
There's a
We
lot
should
of
all be
people.
working together to make this continent better. And the fact that we are always bickering over divisions and trying to get each other to see things our way. Each nation can be represented in their own way, but there are decisions that need to be made that affect all of us. And when those decisions come to the table, it's in all of our best interests to do what is right.
I completely agree with you. That it is in all of our best interests to do what is right. Now,
Good.
let's all agree about what's right.
Dealing with delirium.
I think there's something to be said. I don't think we can, we can sort of go back and forth on this and talk about what was and who killed the courtyard of who, but the point is that I've been there. I've been to that center of that meteor, and we're all, time will get us all, and that corruption does not let anyone escape. We're
No.
running against the clock.
Before you get all apologetic on me, I know that in the process of making a nation, sometimes you gotta crack a few skulls, and sometimes you gotta burn a few bridges. And this whole little affair that you're all arguing about with Uriel Radley, I'm gonna be perfectly frank with you. I think it's a distraction. I think that, I apologize for it. Arguing over a little red-headed mage and who's gonna be holding on to a little sword, that doesn't get us any closer to actually solving these problems. Now, I'm glad that we can put that all behind us and actually focus on things. What I care about, I will say with you, Wilhelm, I care exactly about the problems that are facing this situation. This whole delirium thing, what's happened in your city, what's happening in your nation, is of grave concern to us. Because, yes, we do have all sorts of folk wanting these stones, wanting these things, bringing them through. Because what's been happening for us, of course, they don't tell you this, is you get people coming up over to Dransmond and Liberio, but of course, for us, Gabriella's Landing, well, that's the closest city over to the far continent, over to the lands of Sidonia and the Sixth Empire. And they've been starting to hear about your little purple rocks, and they want them too. And where do they come to first? Gabriella's Landing. That's a concern for me now, because now I got ships coming in with your rocks, and I got caravans coming all across the heartland of Illyria, bringing this stuff so that they can sell it to people who don't care about Illyria. Now, of course, the traders in Illyria, they love all that money. Gold shines just like the sacred flame. That's what they say. But I can't have that. I can't have it. It's got to stop.
I agree.
Of course, over time, yes.
So how are you going to
people are-
stop it? That's what I want to know.
It needs to stop at the source. You have no idea what we've discovered about delirium, and people bringing it over in ships is the least of your worries. When we think about the long-term effects, it's not just going to be creeping in on ships, it's going to be creeping under the very earth itself. If we don't do something about it, where we stand.
And here's the way I see it is I will stand pat on that offer. You want that money? You want my soldiers? You want me to rally up the nobility of Illyria? Send an army to back you up? You want that loan? You want that money? I'm here today to tell you it's yours. You want that help? You want that support? You got it. But that's going to come with some expectations about how things are going to proceed. You understand?
I understand, and frankly, I don't need your loans. I don't want to be indebted to Illyria. What I think is the obvious thing here that we are beating around, you and I both want to see delirium stopped. Nothing else in this offer that Illyria has made is of concern to me. The fact is that you and I are allies in what we want to do with delirium. Therefore, there's no reason for us to fight or try to persuade each other on how things are going to move forward, and, well, not how things are going to move forward, but who's going to owe who what in the end.
But that's precisely the thing that we're not talking straight on here. Because how things are done and how they're going to be done is precisely the current concern that I have. I don't disagree with you one lick of anything over what needs to be done. But it's the how.
Well, last I heard,
Helen was telling us about your aggressive plan against delirium.
that's why we've wanted to talk to you, because you have the tools to destroy delirium. Was your goal, Illyria's goal was to march an army into Drakkenheim and destroy the delirium heart. And if that is still the goal, I will let you. What I need from you is for you to say that we are agreeing on that. And therefore, when I do my tour of Westamar, I can say that Silver Order from Illyria is backing us up in the goal to destroy delirium. That'll help unite Westamar. And then, if we can continue a dialogue afterwards on good decisions that prevent a war between nations, then everybody's going to win.
So
Delirium stops going through your nation. Westamar gets put back together. We have allies in Caspia. We could have an era of peace between the three nations. It's unheard of in our time. Wouldn't you like to be the Lord Regent who created an era of peace for the continent?
That sounds like a very wonderful epithet. But if I'm going to send my army and my soldiers into your nation, into your city, who's going to give them orders? You?
No.
Okay.
Probably me.
I imagine that we will form the leaders of the nations will make these decisions together for something that affects all of us.
I'm very sorry, but maybe you've never commanded an army before, but that is no way to run a military operation by committee. I'm very sorry, but if you want our military support, then you will accept our military command. And that's the deal. That's the deal. I'm sorry, Wilhelm, but that's the way it's going to be.
Well, you're contradicting yourself. It's hypocritical to say that you don't make decisions in a committee. Do you talk to the Divine Matriarch about decisions for Illyria? Do you talk to Uriel Radley? Or are you the one making all the decisions for the continent of Illyria? I have a Lord Commander.
The realm of politics and the realm of battle have a lot of similarities, but they have a lot of differences. And I'm sure you need to learn that lesson. But on the day, if you want the support of Illyria, we're going to command that military operation. We will be putting the troops forward. If we're going to be contributing the majority of the troops, we're going to be contributing the majority of the command. And that's the way it's going to work.
Your troops. The Lord Commander will command the Hooded Lanterns. Pluto will command his Caspian troops. And we will discuss the best position for all of them. Under no circumstances do you have the right to tell the Hooded Lanterns what to do. Under no circumstances do you have the right to tell the Caspians what to do.
Well then, you know what? If that's the way it's going to be, then we'll pick up the pieces after you fail. If you want us all to be united,
then it has to be your way.
it needs to be under the command of someone that I can trust. Now,
And what have I done to show you that you can't trust me?
it's not what you've done, it's what you haven't done, and you've never led an army.
Tell you what. Give me some time. Give me 2 months.
2 months.
Me and my comrades are doing a tour of Westamar to unite the continent. I will raise an army. I will lead it to stitch Westamar back together. If I can do that, allow me to come to the table as your equal. I am no better than you. You are no better than me. We are but people trying to help our nations. Give me the chance.
Your Majesty, we are absolutely equals. But this is not about equals. This is about competency. This is about who can make the decisions.
Then give me the chance to prove that I can. That's all I'm asking. 2 months. And then make your decision.
Very well. Very well. You want, but 2 months. And if after those 2 months, I'm not convinced that you can command Illyria's forces, that you can actually put this military operation together, then what? If you don't do it, what happens?
Then I will follow your lead on how we should best destroy the Delirium Heart.
All right. If you come to me in 2 months with your house in order and ready to march beside us in equals, because I'm seeing right now, this is the thing, and I'm going to be very frank with you. You're in shambles, okay? You don't have an army that you can put together. You got a couple good forces. Your Hooded Lanterns, though, they're not going to be they're going to be the vanguard at most. Your elites. You got a bunch of mercenaries on your side. Great. But this is going to be a big military operation. And I know from even the history itself, that's been tried twice before. Your father tried that twice before, and it fell apart twice before. So, my question to you is really, I'm thinking about what's this leadership gonna look like. And I'll tell you one thing. This is just between you and me right now. I don't want that Elias Drexel anywhere. You get him out of that command structure, because he's already had 2 kicks at the can. But you come to me with your house in order. You got all your folks on your side. You are ready to come to this battle with an equal force of soldiers. Then we can share command on this. Now, I myself am not going to be... I'm no commander. I just make the calls. But I'm telling you honestly, it's going to be Uriel Radley, because I trust his battle leadership. He might not be the best braggart, but he's a good commander.
Very well.
3 times the charm.
I believe that we have people on our side. We have knowledge. We have information that my father never had. I also will not only be the leader of this nation, but I will be its commander.
All right, then. 2 months. Wilhelm von Kessel, you got 2 months to put this together.
It will be done.
You sure you don't want 3? You might need it. I could give you 3.
It's very generous of you. Thank you.
We will convene in 3 months.
I don't need, but I'll take it.
So we
But I
can
don't
do
need
it in 2 months, but then we
A
need
lot
to
of marching.
travel and get
A lot of
together,
marching.
and
Yeah,
there's a
we
lot of
like-
logistics.
Yeah, I have a birthday, I think, in there. Like, there's just going to be some time.
We have some birthdays. Thank you for the 3 months. It will allow us time to
Some weeks off. I have some
celebrate
holidays
the birth
already, sort of.
of Pluto.
All right. Looks like this Gasconade might be coming to a close.
About time.
Gasconade?
Venus Joplin bursts into the room. Well, it seems like a decision has been made, he says, placing her hands on her hips. We have deliberated. We have discussed. I have heard all the tales, the inside information on exactly what has gone on. We've come to a decision. Before we do, any last words?
Gasconade!
There's a small cheer. Gasconade! No. No final bragging? I'm disappointed.
Pluto, take it away.
For 5 long days, we sludged and marched through the dreary streets of a broken city. We hunted what most men fear. We found our target and we destroyed it. And that was only on day 3.
Yes.
We bring you a great beast and another trophy for House Jackson. Another great notch on a proud tradition of killing those that hurt the innocent and strike fear into the hearts of even the bravest warriors. I will... That worm is big, but that head is bigger. And we did it together.
Together.
Minor illusion, like just a roar of the crowd.
You get someone in the back to be like, yeah! The voice. And everyone's like, yeah!
Venus Joplin speaks. Well, with that said, With that said, the unanimous decision of this jury, much to my own surprise, I must admit, but considering well deserved, is Wilhelm von Kessel, Pluto Jackson, and Veo Senya.
Jackson! For Caspia!
High King, thank you for traveling all this way to be the judge of this Caspian duel and Gasconade.
I must say that I came into this Pluto Jackson, expecting to tear you down. But I am quite impressed with your valor and what you accomplished. You have represented Caspia well.
You are a mighty king and a true judge of character. And I did this not just for my house, but for our people. Our people. And I kneel before the great High King.
I wish you great luck in all your future wars. Go with the Gloria of Caspia.
We just start going.
Why
like,
is
flex
everybody
off.
flexing? Everybody's all the Caspians are flexing.
Yeah, all the Caspians
Rob,
just start flexing.
Rob,
Glory
get
to
into it.
Caspia!
Yeah.
Uriel Radley, you are a worthy opponent. A true fighter. And maybe just not the greatest bragger. But I can think one thing we can both take away from this is that there are less monstrosities that roam the streets of Drakkenheim. And for that, we all thank you. For the greatest victory was that of us over that dreadful city and its horrible monsters that thrive within it. And if anything we can take from this is that we will continue to beat down and destroy the warped creatures that live within. And it is just a matter of time before we outnumber them and eventually drive them from the city to make it whole again. And for that, I thank you. It's a big worm. It's a big worm.
Well,
Big worm.
this isn't the outcome I was hoping for, but I feel like I asked for what I asked for because I wanted justice for my friend, Theodore Marshall. And I don't... He died because he thought he was doing what was right. And you killed him. But I guess it is that maybe he should have stood down. Maybe he let his valor and bravery get the better of his judgment. I hope that I could bring justice to what I thought was an injustice. But you've won 2 duels, fair and square, against the Silver Order. Maybe you deserve the right to bear Ignatius, and it's not our place to try to take that from you.
I thank you, Uriel Radley, and I need you to know that that is not a win that I hold as a victory. His death was a loss. And I have come far since. And I seek out only the monsters that plague the streets. I do not wish to hurt any more of my fellow man.
You conducted yourself with honor in our duel, and in our dealings. And maybe it is that the sacred flame has found its own way of shining its light through you.
Ignatius holds me to a high degree of... He's yelling at me right now. He's screaming at me.
And I suppose that we should not despair when the light shines from dark places, because that means that its righteousness is spreading to the places that need it most. I hope the sacred flame guides your heart, Pluto Jackson.
I believe it does. Uriel Radley. I believe I am, and I hope to be, with Ignatius by my side, another torch.
Well then, I must say, it's been a while since we've had a Caspian join the Silver Order. But if you ever feel that higher calling, you come talk to me.
I'm honored that you would even entertain the idea. Thank you.
Very well. I'm going to return to our fortress and begin making my preparations once again. We were prepared to do this our way, and it still might be the case that that's how it goes down. You go get your house in order, Your Majesty, he says, nodding at Wilhelm. And when you're ready, we'll be fighting beside you. But I want you to know that if you do need someone to really lead this thing, I'm always here.
Uriel, I look forward to fighting alongside you, and I know that your Lord Regent has his views, and you have yours, and I hope that if anything, this duel has showed you what we are capable of on the battlefield. And I look forward to hopefully sharing command with you and making decisions together for the betterment of our nations.
We'll see. We'll see. All right, then. Let's get out of here.
And way in the back row, you hear Sebastian yell, "Yeah, I'm not gonna die!"
And perhaps that is a good place to take our break. See how
I'm alive! I'm invincible!
And we are back from our short rest. We have restocked all of our consumables and are ready to play some more. The processions leave the Gasconade in the same fashion as they arrived, with a great deal of pomp and circumstance. Under the agreements of Liberio, the monarchs, or in the case of Illyria, the Lord Regent, were only permitted in the walls of the city for the duration of the contest, and thus Venus Joplin, the Lord Regent Polonius Reed, and Wilhelm von Kessel must leave Liberio for their own camps outside the city as soon as the affairs are over with. And so, as the processions leave, all of you gather together with Wilhelm, I assume, to head back out to the Westamar camp that is just outside Liberio. As you leave the city, you reconnoiter with Elias Drexel, as well as Petra and Ansem, the rest of your respective crews, and all 6 of your characters are gathered together. There is the mood is quite jovial when you return to the small camp. That basically what's been arranged for Wilhelm is there is an estate that is owned by Isabella Ezio, that she has made arrangements for Wilhelm to stay in. So it's a villa that is outside the city. So you're not camping, basically. You have fine accommodations in kind of a countryside estate that you're able to stay in. And so your whole group is gathered there under guard. And as you arrive, Eldrick Runeweaver and River are also present there as well. Although most of the other Caspian expeditions have departed at this stage. After a well-deserved meal, the group, you now have the opportunity to plan your next move and decide what you will do next. With all of your characters together, you are in sort of the there is a small quad that is part of this backyard garden to the villa that you are in. And so you can see Liberio in the distance, the floating Enigma ziggurat bobbing in the far distance. It is a cool evening, but pleasant out in these fine gardens that overlook the countryside in this small sliver of free land between all three nations.
I imagine that we've all poured like drinks and we're kind of having like a celebratory. Yeah.
A snack for sure. I'm definitely like stress eating after that.
It's a garden party.
Wilhelm stands, I don't know, there's a platform somewhere in this garden. There's a raised area and Wilhelm stands there and he raises his glass and commands the attention and says, "First, a toast to Pluto Jackson, Veo Senya, for allowing us a win in this Gasconade."
Here.
And everybody...
And there is a cheer.
Gasconade!
And much applause from the... with you, Elias Drexel, Ansem and Petra, River, and Eldrick Runeweaver, as well as several soldiers of the Hooded Lanterns. The Rickard Steelfang is present, and there is a good amount of applause from everyone at this well-deserved victory.
I'm like it's interesting because it's kind of like a casual dynamic, so I don't want to start turning it into a meeting, but perhaps we start walking around and mingling with one another. I don't know. Is that something that we can do?
Do you demand it of us?
I kind of shout out like, "I hope you all made a lot of money because I'm sure you bet on us, right?" Contribute to the tax.
Sebastian is counting his coins. He's like, "Oh yeah." Wilhelm actually is going to approach Veo first.
Hello?
Lord Commander.
Sir.
Good job on all of that. That was incredible.
Just trying to channel my inner Pluto. You know, I've been around him quite a bit, so I just tried to get in the mind of the Caspian. It was quite fun, actually. It'd be cool to be Caspian.
I tried and failed, so I mean, applause to you. You were much better than I.
I have spent more time around him, so. And you know what? You did great, but hopefully, you know, you learn to really dig deep into your inner boastfulness.
I might need more of that in the future with what's to come, because we've given ourselves a bit of a time pressure, haven't we?
We have, but I don't think it's unachievable. I think we're on the right track for getting this nation together, and it starts with making moves on, you know, getting the different areas aligned around Westamar.
Veo, as Lord Commander, and I mean, you've done such an amazing job so far. I imagine that we have the forces of the Hooded Lanterns at our disposal for whatever's to come. If you could, perhaps take it upon yourself to maybe up recruitment. Let's try to build the Hooded Lanterns up. We might need to make some careful moves here. We need to maintain our position and footholds in the city of Drakkenheim. But we don't want to lose any troops to needless battles with eldritch monsters in the city when we do have a continent to take care of.
Caution, I think, is warranted in the situation. I don't think we need any unnecessary rounds going on in the city, but I also think that if we can consider rallying the nation towards the capital, that could be a way that we bring in more troops. Thinking of those who may not understand what's going on in Drakkenheim and really sending out a message that this is something we need to come to together. And I'm sure there will be many men and women willing to come to your aid.
Elias Drexel injects, and he says, there are many who are willing to fight for Westamar. But you have to understand that there is a balance. The dukes and duchesses of Westamar have their own professional armies, their own soldiers who are trained. And those soldiers, at this stage, the number of people that we can draw on a volunteer basis, we won't get anywhere with green recruits. A good spirit is not what we need now. We need people with veteran experience. We need soldiers who are equipped. We need soldiers who are ready to fight and have a good chain of command to fight for us. And we're only going to get that with the participation of the nobility. And the thing is that we're now at the point where the nobility feels slighted. We haven't not done what we should have done a long time ago when, well, we haven't had much time. But now that Wilhelm is present, that he's back, that we have the crown, and that we have the seals, because we have the scepter, we can make that trade with Lucretia Matthias for the High Flame Keeper's phylactery. It means that we will have all the seals of Westamar, and we can crown Wilhelm properly.
You still think a trade is in order?
Having all the seals is something that we've been fighting for years. Having an heir is something that we've been fighting for years. We have all the pieces in place, finally. That will bring the nobility together again. Yes, we might have to make a personal appeal to all of them and make some amends.
I'm not saying that we don't need all the seals. I agree with you. But I think we're in a different position than we were before, trading valuable things.
With respect, Lord Commander, the Scepter of Saint Vitruvio is a valuable relic, but Wilhelm having the full power of the Crown of Westamar behind him is an uncountably potent asset.
Oh yeah, I still think we need the phylactery.
Yeah, I think what Veo's saying here, Elias, you're not reading between the lines. Lucretia Matthias is becoming something
dangerous.
of a criminal to our nation. An attempted assassination was made on me by her followers. We may be past the point of trading with her. we might just need to take the phylactery.
Very well. I don't have any objections to that. All I believe is that we need to get all the things in place.
Agreed.
If we can take Lucretia Matthias alive and offer her to the Illyrians, as far as I'm concerned, that's the best bargaining chip we have on the table.
I will also say that I agree with you, and although I want to push for more recruited Hooded Lanterns, I realize that we will also need to go to each of the major cities and discuss the alliances and the military backing of each of the dukes and duchesses of Westamar. That will be part of the force, but upping our Hooded Lanterns at the same time as doing this is not a bad idea. I think that what we need to make sure we're doing, we have a lot of assets at our fingertips. The people...
Sorry, can I, if I may interject? There's no more Hooded Lanterns coming. You're not going to be able to increase the numbers of the Hooded Lanterns at this stage. You're going to have, because just to get technical, any further recruits are going to come from the lands of the dukes.
Right.
So the dukes can just say, no, you can't join. Right? That's their power to say. And they can actively discourage that. And once again, to be clear, green recruits with no experience are not going to be a help at this stage. So what we need the veteran soldiers that are in the forces of the dukes.
Yeah.
We're not going to recruit, especially with the time that we have and what's going on. We might pull some of the Duke's soldiers into the Hooded Lanterns. But those men and women, we need veterans. We need experienced troops. We need the soldiers, the Dukes. We might, of course, we will recruit more troops, but the number of people who are going to come now is nothing compared to what we can get by bargaining with the nobility.
All right. Vale, what would... Yeah, go ahead.
I think understanding that power lies with each of the dukes. But if we can win them over, bringing them under one banner will help, I think, in our goal towards, getting Illyria on our side. It's not about bringing together a ragtag group anymore. It's about bringing us all under one banner to work together.
Just so that we're clear, this is the way the Westamar military has been structured for a long time. The Dukes and Duchesses' soldiers, they've trained together, and they benefit from the fact that they know how to fight. If we were going to Caspia, and we wanted Caspian soldiers, we're not going to ask House Jackson soldiers to form a mixed regiment with soldiers from House Joplin. They're going to form their own regiments. They're going to fight together on the battlefield, but they're still going to be under the command of their own soldiers and under our overall command.
Yes.
Right? So that's why it's not a simple matter of just pulling in a ragtag band. This is basically, you got to imagine that you're not gonna, if we're gonna bring in a big army, it needs to have a chain of command, and so the Dukes have a chain of command to organize it.
Yeah.
So if we can convince the Dukes that Wilhelm will be
hi,
the
Pluto.
new king. Hey, I was just over at the hors d'oeuvres. They're really good.
What? Hors d'oeuvres?
And Vale runs off.
I finished all of those, so give me a moment.
Yeah, they brought in more because someone ate all of the salmon. All of it. The idea would be to gain their trust. We begin with the ones that have the closest alliances, that we have the greatest ins with. We schmooze our way on a 2-month journey, and then spend the last month really getting that last bringing all the pieces together so that we can properly confront Polonius Reed. And
Really reeling in those last few.
Yeah.
because they may ask stuff of you, Wilhelm.
Yeah.
They may ask for, I'm guessing, money, land,
Favors.
favors. Yeah, and if we can just get them all on board, they will send their troops to be with us.
That is absolutely something that I'm hoping to do. I was just trying to find Veo's place in what's to come, and I guess by my side leading the Hooded Lanterns is good enough. I just know that we need as much backing and support as possible, which does bring me to you, Pluto Jackson. I know that we have the Jacksons on our side. How many troops can the Jacksons spare to send to Westamar, and what is the relationship of the other houses? Are the Jacksons close with any of the other houses, and is it possible that we could get a second Caspian regiment in here, or any sort of other support? You know Caspia better than me.
I do. You, even with all of your history and your knowledge and your written books, I contain all of the Caspian knowledge. I believe that it is worth.
With your Caspian knowledge, Pluto, you do know that might be a possibility. Probably not in 3 months.
They're busy. They're so busy. When's the big High King?
The King's Moot?
It's still like a couple years away.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But essentially, like, if you wanted to bring in the support of another Caspian house, it would likely require all of you traveling to Caspia and visiting that house in person and trying to convince them, which is going to compromise your ability to negotiate with the Westamar houses.
I mean, that sounds awesome, but yeah, we can't do that in 3 months.
Yeah.
What I can do, though, is tell you that I took a bunch of gold from Drakkenheim, and and we can spend it on people I love who are mercenaries.
Well, we already have the support of the Steel Fangs, but Pluto, as long as you can bring to the table as many Jacksons. Okay, 5.
15.
I'm looking for...
You say a number and I'll say a number and we'll both be on the same page.
7,000.
I feel like we're not hitting the
All right, let's one more try. All right.
I think you just need to know something about there's a lot of great men who are now in a sewer grave and they would probably come in handy around this time.
So what you're saying is we need a necromancer?
You lost 100 men, correct?
Wait, hold on. What about Bayo, you said something?
I mean,
look,
no.
I promise you that House Jackson will give its full support, but from a strictly arms perspective, it's going to be tough to bring all of that in the next 3 months.
Bring me as many as you can.
I will move mountains. I will reach out to my father, and I will see who we can deliver in that time frame. But I believe that the true show of strength will come from Westamar within, and Jackson and the Caspians will be a great addition to the flavor. But
that's all I'm asking.
But yes,
But Elias jumps in here and says, but we do need to get our house in order. And we can't, Wilhelm, Your Majesty, we can't prop up your rule with foreign support.
Elias, I understand this. We've already established that I'm doing a tour of Westamar. I'm just making sure that our allies are on board as well. Is that not also important?
It is. I just feel like we should be spending more of our time discussing the particulars of that objective rather than worrying about where we're going to be getting allies that might not come along. Allies from outside.
I thought we had the support of House Jackson. I thought that they had sent troops here, and
that is indeed the case. And so I don't know what more we can rely on from them. They've sent us. They have committed to sending several hundred soldiers, but we need to make sure that we match that with well more than that in our own.
Well, I think at least, at the very minimum, having those soldiers with us as we travel around Westamar is, maybe we need some more as well, but could be a sign of force. I don't know. When it comes to approaching these less than happy dukes and duchesses around Westamar.
That's what I'm thinking, is if we have enough troops like the Steel Fangs, and I do have another ace in my sleeve, but we're going to get to that in a moment. But if we have Caspians, the Hooded Lanterns, the Steel Fangs, walking with us as we tour Westamar, it's going to look good for us that we already have a force.
If I may just offer one suggestion.
Yes.
There were already worries of the Caspians installing a puppet to lead Westamar. I think the Caspians... I think that having Pluto Jackson with us is a wonderful diplomatic envoy, but I worry about the optics of you marching around with a Caspian battalion.
Fair enough. Can they at least stand by for Todsfeld when we go there?
Certainly.
I think at this point, since we're having a discussion here in the garden, I think it would be optimal to bring the two mages, actually, the four mages if they're available, Sebastian, Wrath, River, and Eldrick. And also Rudy. I need to talk to her as well.
Certainly.
I'm gonna hit up the buffet.
I'll follow.
As that's happening,
eat.
Rudy is first to join that conversation. So I want to spend just a moment with Wrath, River, Eldrick, and Sebastian. If it's okay with you, Joe?
Yep.
Yeah. Over by a gazebo, the four mages of the Amethyst Academy are gathered together. And Eldrick has a look of concern, but he begins by saying, that could have gone a lot worse.
I was never really worried. But I'm glad that I don't have to, have some sort of backup plan of being teleported to another plane of existence for a few months while things settle. I much prefer to stay here, so really happy about that.
I must admit, though, I am very concerned about about how things are going to proceed with Wilhelm von Kessel. He wants to make friends with the Illyrians, and I am worried that with that will come concessions that impact us.
I think we need a voice in this. I think that Wilhelm will listen to us. Wrath, you've been friends with him for a while. Rudy, your children are going to be impacted by this as well. So
am I in this circle? I feel like
if you'd like to be, yes.
Okay.
But I thought it was just the Academy mages.
Oh,
yeah, just the
sorry.
Academy.
Right.
Yeah.
Rudy's children are going to be impacted by this as well. She's going to be on board with fighting for Academy stuff. Wrath, what do you think? Wilhelm seems like an okay guy.
He's honorable, and he carries around a book that pretty much tells him what to do, which I don't understand is much different than having a cat that tells you what to do. So, as long as we know what the book is going to do, I think we can trust him. These affairs of the king, of choosing who will be the next monarch, will have a profound impact on the academy going forward. I do not know my place. My father may have words for this next king.
Now, see, this is the problem, Wrath. Having met your father now, very exciting meeting an academy director. Didn't turn out how I imagined it going. I think that the four of us here could talk to Wilhelm and get him to reason. We could probably come to some sort of consensus that benefits all of us. I would hope. How easily manipulated is Wilhelm, Wrath? How easily were you able to, just nudge him in certain directions?
I believe at one point I conjured an image of his father, who then was beheaded, and that seemed to affect him emotionally.
I love it. I hate it. Both at the same time. Amazing work. Wow. That's dark.
It was an accident. It was a little out of my control. Wilhelm is coming. The question is where does delirium sit within this? It seems to me I heard a lot of yelling and screaming about the fear of delirium, and I see no place for it as we move forward.
River adds in. But I'm worried that in the process that King Wilhelm is going to let the Silver Order walk all over him. And if the Silver Order shows up to help purge Drakkenheim, they're going to destroy the Inscrutable Tower.
Well,
do you have any doubt about that? They're going to ask for that, and that's going to be one of the terms of their involvement. They're going to
especially with its corruption.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that doesn't happen. And if there's one thing I've learned about paladins, it's that they're highly flammable.
I have another concern of my own. The Directorate is going to take matters into their own hands.
Directorate schmerectorate. That was I don't like them.
I don't either.
So far.
But it seems clear to me that these assassination attempts, who else but them, honestly.
You think that the Directorate tried to kill Wilhelm?
I have no doubt about it.
Oh boy.
It would make sense because his very existence threatens one of the main sources of income for my father and the others. I'm sure they would stop at nothing to keep the supply of delirium going. It is the fuel for their magic inventions. It is the source of all of their wonder.
The only thing that I think is that the Directorate, the only thing that is holding the Directorate back right now from doing anything more rash is that they're still probably trying to find a way to do it that cannot directly be traced back to them. And that is the only advantage that Wilhelm has at this stage. But as soon as the Directorate finds a way to engineer a situation for him to die that doesn't look like it could be blamed on the Directorate, they'll go for it.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. So I've met a member of the Directorate. Sorry, Wrath, about the things I'm about to say about your father. He was terrible. He was obsessed with delirium. He was rude to his own children. He didn't have the best interests of Mageborn in mind. He had the best interests of the Directorate in mind. And if that is the benchmark for the Directorate, I hope they're not all like that. Then that's not what I learned from you, Eldrick, when we went to school. We were taught to stand up for Mageborn. We were taught to lift each other up. We were being pushed down by this world, and we needed to help each other out. And if the Directorate isn't following those guidelines, then maybe we need a new. Can I say? Are we being watched right now?
Probably.
Are we being listened? You know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. If the Wilhelm is going to be going on this tour, the only ones that are going to be able to protect him from the Directorate are us.
Yeah, and so we kind of have to play two sides here. We need to make sure that Wilhelm continues following what is best for the Academy, but we need to hold the Directorate at bay, because I'm starting to think the Directorate doesn't know what's best for the Academy.
Well, what happens when the Directorate calls upon us to do something?
Then we have a hard choice to make, because frankly, the obsession with delirium, none of the Directorate have touched the delirium heart that I know of. I'm the only person here who has, and what I saw does not make me keen to keep using delirium. I know it's been a great benefit for us, but it's going to destroy the world. And frankly, I'm not here for that. I don't love that. And the Directorate's too busy going all oogly-eyed at how cool delirium is, and it's cool. We all know that. But at what cost? And that's where I think Wilhelm might be onto something. But we need to make sure that the decisions he makes allow the Academy to continue being what the Academy always was. The Academy's been around a lot longer than 15 years. Before 15 years ago, it still stood for something. Eldrick, you know.
I do. But we're not going to be able to... If we're going to try to resist the Directorate, we're going to have to be very careful.
Yeah. Careful's my middle name.
I'm not sure about that.
Me neither. It sounded cool in my head.
As this discussion continues, I want to flip over to Rudy, as Rudy comes to chat with Paluto and Wilhelm.
Well, you two, I gotta say, mighty fine job on your gasconade.
Thank you, Rudy.
Protecting your friend like that, it's very honorable, and I can respect it.
You know, it's important that we stand up for those that fight alongside us. It's going to continue to be important in what's to come.
Agreed. Loyalty is the only way we're going to make something out of this situation in Drakkenheim, because we need to band together. And I think, bringing people on your side, showing them loyalty is going to be how they stay with you, Wilhelm.
Well, speaking of loyalty, Rudy, I had something very important I needed to ask you. You fought in the Civil War for my father.
I did.
And now you fight alongside me. I know you were asked to do terrible things in the war. And I never want to put you in a position where you have to follow a command that goes against your better judgment. And I want you to know that as your king, I'm not just hoping to be a king. Rudy, you're one of my closest friends. You have every right to tell me when I'm making a good choice or a bad choice. As much as other people will say, Wilhelm, you need to step up and make these choices, you're the king, I rely on the friendships and the bonds that I've made with people who I trust. And Rudy, I trust you more than I trust anybody else in this world. So, I'm going to ask a big favor of you, but I want you to know that you have every right moving forward to make the calls that you feel are right, and I will never ask you to do something. And if I do ask you to do something that you disagree with, I want you to tell me.
Of course. I mean, that is why I follow you. That is why you deserve to be king, is because you wouldn't ask anything of me that you wouldn't ask of yourself. And I can respect that. And yeah, we have been through a lot together. And, ever since the day you came stumbling through my barn, I knew that something amazing was going to come happen in your life. And listen, you can ask me anything. And of course, I will tell you no if I think it's a bad idea. But ultimately, you can ask of me anything you need.
Well, we have 3 months to gather the military forces of Westermar under a von Kessel banner.
3 months?
Yes. We're going to be doing a tour of Westermar, and we're going to be doing the best that we can. But our biggest hurdle, I believe, in all of this is going to be Todsfeld. I have a plan that will help strike fear into the Duke of Todsfeld, as well as show...
Does he feel fear? Does he have a heart to feel emotion in? I'm not quite sure.
There's one thing I know he's afraid of, Rudy. I want to get the Ochtenwald irregulars back together.
The Ochtenwald... You want to get them together?
They were the most dangerous elite force in the Civil War for my father. Again, I do not plan to use them in the same way my father did. He used them as a brutal hammer to murder and destroy many things, and I apologize for the sins of my father. But having the Ochtenwald regulars together, even as a presence, is a statement, a powerful statement.
Could be a dangerous statement.
Wilhelm.
But a powerful one nonetheless.
You shouldn't brandish a blade that you're not willing to use. The Ochtenwald irregulars, the Steel Fangs. If you have both of these regiments under your command, those are 2 fearsome weapons. Yes. And it's going to, well, and frankly put, that's like holding the chain for a pair of rabid wolves. Well, a rabid wolf and a bear, and everything in between. Pardon that, Rudy.
Alas, I'm taking a little bit of offense to that.
Understand, though, I know that you're not like that.
I know.
But the tales of your regiment, the tales of the Steel Fangs, sweep across Westermar And that's the reputation that your regiment has. That's the Steel Fangs aren't much better.
I mean, I agree. The stories that are being told of us are, well, sometimes I'll be honest, they get a little bit out of hand, and that gives me a little bit of a chuckle, but it is a strong name to be wielded.
Rule number 50, your skills are power, and power should be used to aid the less powerful. Unlike my father, and unlike Rickard, these weapons were used to malicious intent. They can be used to help. Under my leadership, these weapons will be powerful. They make a statement, much like a flaming sword of Ignatius makes a statement.
I want you to consider very carefully, though, Wilhelm, that the statement that you're making when you hold the chains on these two mercenary regiments is, if you don't do what I say, I'm feeding you to the wolves.
And that is a good thing to have in the backdrop, where I will approach all meetings with the same honesty and genuine nature that I have brought forth this entire time. But there have been some major lessons recently about what it means to be a leader. I promise all of you here that I will listen when you have advice for me. But I do think that brandishing powerful weapons, and those who would think to oppose us or stand up to us, we want them to reconsider. And I think having a dangerous wolf and a dangerous bear, pardon Rudy, behind me, while I confront them with kindness and an invite to join and be a part of something to unite this nation, will be a double-edged sword that we can use.
Wilhelm, if you hold that chain and someone still says no to you, are you going to release it?
If it comes to it. If it is our only choice, then yes.
I need you to know that I respect the drive that you have to negotiate, to make peace, and to do the right thing. But there are people in this world, Wilhelm, that don't want peace. There are people in this world that don't want respect, or don't want to respect you. And there are people in this world who just want things their way. And they're not going to necessarily want the same things that you do. And you're going to have to decide if you walk away or if you crush them.
We have 3 months to unite a nation. Rule number 71, the price for peace is paid in blood. Do not forget who must pay the bill. As we tour around Westamar, and we will try to negotiate. Listen, we're not going to march up to every doorstep with an army and say, follow us or die. We're going to ask each duke what we could do to gain their favor, what we could do to prove that we are worth following. I believe several. We can help, we can aid them, we can give them resources, we can unite this nation. I know for a fact some, specifically Toddsfeld, and I'm sure a few others, we may have to pay a price in blood. But the fact is, if we don't unite this nation in 3 months, then we're back to square one with Illyria, and we have an Illyrian army marching on us. And I think for myself here that it's in our best interests to have a united nation who is allied with our neighbors in both Caspia and Illyria.
Then where do we begin?
I think the obvious choice is to head to Dransmund, where we already have allies. Start the tour there. Really, that's the easy check mark. If we can get them to back us, as we have already been promised, then we can move forward from there.
What you're saying is we take some boats from here, and we go through and we start in Dransmund and work our way back to the capital?
That way we wouldn't have to march past Toddsfeld.
That's
the goal. It would be taking a lot of time to sail around, though.
Well, if we hit up Dransmund, Helberg, Altbrook, Helig, is Kesselholm a place we need to... We already have Kesselholm.
Yes. If we pull up the continental map here, and just see here. Ooh, there we go. Great. It worked. Okay. So, right now, you are looking at Westamar, and if you're wanting to plan this out here, the main dukes are those of Dransmund, Toddsfeld, Altbrook, Geldstadt, and then we've also got Helberg, and then Helig. Leuten is actually not controlled by a duke. Leuten was traditionally a fortress city that the ruler of Leuten would be appointed by the monarch.
And that was only in times of war, like when Illyria is marching on us.
No, it was at all times. You have to always have a garrison there because it is the Southern Vanguard. So currently the leader that is there is not one of the dukes, but is nominally someone to that would hopefully fall in line once the rest are brought over. So yeah, you're basically looking at Dransmund, Toddsfeld, Helberg, Helig, Altbrook, and Geldstadt.
Right.
Now, could start in Dransmund and kind of past Toddsfeld, go around and come back, but really it's a bit out of the way if we don't go to Toddsfeld if we're going to Dransmund.
It is true that from here, Monty, am I correct in, from here we would pass through Luckton and Toddsfeld to get to Dransmund?
Yes, you would go if you were right now. If you were coming from the land route, you would be passing Leuten to get to either Toddsfeld or Geldstadt.
So perhaps it makes more sense. And Rudy, Pluto, I want your heads in on this. Does it make more sense to pass through Luckton, travel up to Geldstadt, then all the way north to Helig, then down to Altbrook, Helberg, Dransmund, Toddsfeld?
Where's Helig again?
Helig is off the map north, I believe.
Yeah, it's north of Drakkenheim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So... Geldstadt, and then we would pass kind of through Drakkenheim up all the way north because we have to hit it, and then back south on the other end of the nation.
The only other route that we could take would be to go from Geldstadt to Altbrook, and that way we could avoid Drakkenheim, and the roads are pretty much equidistant there.
Right. So Geldstadt, Altbrook, up to Helig, back down to Altbrook, then to Helberg, Dransmund. We could sail probably from Helberg to Dransmund, and then hit up Toddsfeld.
Yes.
So you wish to leave Toddsfeld till the end?
The more allies that we have when we confront Todsfeld, the more likely Duke von Fritz is to crumble. If
And I
we
mean,
have...
That might
Yeah.
give me some time to.
Yes.
I mean, the Octenwald regulars are not all just sitting in one place. We're gonna have to find them, recruit them, and I will say it's up to them if they want to join. But
I will ask that
ultimately,
you
I
do
can
your best.
present the situation in front of them, and if they want to come under your banner, then I'll bring them. But it'll at least give me some time before we really need the support of them for Toddsville.
Hear me out. What if Toddsfeld is our early gain? If we can convince Toddsfeld to join us, to follow your banner, Wilhelm, the others may not need any persuasion. Seeing
gonna
you
be a
turn
tough sell.
such a an adversary to yourself, it could be the single act that brings together the entirety of Westamar.
I absolutely see your point, and I will offer my counter thought, and you can tell me what you think, because I do believe that you have an extremely valid point, Pluto. My fear is that if we march on Toddsfeld right now, Duke von Fritz is going to say no. We know this. He's not going to agree to fall under our banner. We will be going to war with Toddsfeld with the forces we have, and blood will be shed. We could win. Toddsfeld could fold and join us, and then we have taken our biggest internal enemy and turned them into an ally. That could work really well, but there will be bloodshed. If we march around the rest of Westamar and finish with Toddsfeld, my theory was that there's a possibility that there need not be bloodshed. If the Ogdenwald Irregulars, the Steel Fangs, and the united forces of several of Westamar are on the outskirts of Toddsfeld when we knock on his door and say, join us or we will raise your city, he may fold without bloodshed.
I'll put it this way. I think if we had the Irregulars, the Steel Fangs, the Hooded Lanterns, and you all, I think we could defeat Ludwig von Fritz with that. That would crush his army. You wouldn't have his forces, but you wouldn't have his opposition either.
Well, I guess it depends on how quickly we cut off the head of the snake, isn't it?
Because that's the question really, Wilhelm, is do you care for Ludwig von Fritz's army? The value of Toddsfeld is its industry. We can cut the head off the snake that is Ludwig von Fritz, never have to deal with him again, and simply seize the industrial hub that is the city and install a more worthy line to run that city. If you want to negotiate with Ludwig von Fritz, you're going to be dealing with that decrepit man for as long as he lives. That could be decades into your reign. You could take him out now and perhaps by offering the dukedom of Toddsfeld to somebody else, you could win a more potent ally.
What you're saying makes a lot of sense, but I would opt for bloodshed second. There might be a way to defeat him without having to kill him, although...
Certainly, but if you're not going to... If you're not going to kill him, you're going to have to respect his rank, and you're going to have to deal with the fact that he will have a stranglehold on the industry of Toddsfeld for the rest of his reign, and he will find ways to worm around it. And you're not going to strip him of his rank unless he's not going to go down without a fight in that case.
What I'll say, Elias, is I take your words with heavy weight. They mean a lot to me, and the murder of a duke who stands against us is not a decision that I would make in a garden conversation.
Very well.
I will think of it in our travels. We are not going to Toddsfeld first. Therefore, we will weigh the situation, but I am not opposed to making the choices that need to be made. I just don't want the choices to be casual when
Rudy,
they have this much weight.
Indeed. Rudy, what do you think? Do you think we should just take out Toddsfeld now, or should we potentially consider this a little more carefully?
I think we should be careful, because the Duke of Toddsfeld, he's a slippery man. He has caused a lot of trouble.
Indeed.
I'm not saying that it might be a bonus for the Oxenwald regulars to potentially finish what they began in Toddsfeld, but I think in a more meaningful way that's going to hurt less people. I think that
honestly,
in the end, regardless of what happens now, Wilhelm, you're going to have to consider that the Duke of Toddsfeld is just going to be poison for this nation.
I am considering it, and I know that. It's just... we are in times of war, and he is the opposition.
I just worry that having him as an ally is an opportunity to get stabbed in the back.
Rule number 66, betrayal is an act of lesser men. I don't doubt that he is a lesser man. And I don't doubt that this is a decision that needs to be made. I would just rather sleep on it before I say yes to the murder of Duke Ludwig von Fritz.
I think at the very least, Wilhelm, if we're going to go to Toddsfeld last, we need to have someone there keeping an eye on what he's doing. Because he's going to hear about you marching across this nation, and he's going to make plans.
What if there was a way that we could say it was an execution, not a murder?
Honestly, that makes me feel 2% better. So I'll take it. He is a war criminal of the Civil War. He fought against my father. He murdered countless people in our army.
And I think he's going to be doing something. We might already be doing something to stir up trouble and,
indeed,
treason.
There have already been 2 assassination attempts.
I'm sure we'd be able to tie him to it somehow. I wouldn't doubt if he's involved.
Well, who should we send to keep an eye on him?
I mean, will someone from the academy be able to keep eyes? I know that, wasn't there some academy member there?
They could be compromised. I don't know if we can trust the academy anymore either.
Well, I don't know if we can trust the academy as a whole, but I know we got friends there, and I trust them.
Shall we speak with them?
Yes, I do think it's pertinent that we bring the Academy into the fold on this, or at least our allies in the Academy, even though I know they're quite upset with me at the moment. But we need to work together if we're going to tackle this.
Very well. So the whole group comes together. As the evening disperses, we've got Veo over here, we got Sebastian, we got Wilhelm, we got Wrath, we've got Eldrick and River, Elias as well.
And Pluto.
The buffet is great! Look at this spread! It's so good! I mean, I'm not here for the food.
I'm here for the food and the wine.
It's okay.
I know the evening is growing late, says Eldrick. But, from what I understand, our invitation from the Consul of Liberio does expire tomorrow. We'll be on the road, and so a destination would be something to decide tonight.
I think that our first course of action, says Wilhelm, is to head to Geldstedt and try to see what we can offer them to join the Westamar Alliance.
Very well.
Eldrick and River, I felt that there's been some animosity between us recently, and I want you to know that I do not plan to get in bed with Illyria. I want to unite Westamar, and I want to stop a war, and I want to protect the people of Westamar as best I can, and that includes the members of the Academy who reside in Westamar. I want you to have the same rights as anybody else, the same abilities to conduct yourselves, and although I may not understand magic, I trust Wrath as much as I can to be allied with me in the fact that he knows magic and he will help me understand what we need to do to move forward together on this.
River says, then perhaps it's best if Wrath explains the dire predicament that you're in to you.
Wrath, what predicament is she talking about?
Don't mind me. Wrath enters the chat. You see, Wilhelm, we have reason to believe that it is exactly the higher levels of the Academy that are the ones that wish to see you assassinated.
My word!
I don't think this is too much of a surprise. You are on a mission to destroy Delirium. You have begun making deals with the Illyrians in the hopes of destroying the Delirium that is also the primary resource for the Academy, which includes the funding for their external affairs and is the power source of almost all of their current magical weapons and concoctions. I hope you understand that as you gain an ally with the Illyrians, you create an enemy of the Academy.
Wrath, I made these decisions under the assumption that we were in agreement that Sebastian touched the Delirium heart and saw the ruin of our world, and we decided then and there that we had to stop it. I thought that this was in the interests of the Academy to help us stop the destruction of the world, put mages perhaps at the forefront of solving this issue, could help, allied with us and Illyria, and together, everybody. Sebastian is going to chime in and cut Wilhelm off. You see, the problem there is you can't just assume that everybody's going to get along. The Academy and the Illyrians are kind of sworn enemies. We Wrath, I don't know. What do you guys? This is
Well,
this is a complicated matter, more complicated than I think. Just like let's band everyone together and go marching off into the sunsets. It's not going to be that easy.
I understand that delirium is a valuable resource to the Academy, but I think the world itself is a valuable resource to everyone. And we get on the same page of trying to save it.
I agree, says Sebastian. I agree with that.
I worry not for myself or Bruce, whether it be with or without delirium. But I can tell you that the high levels of the Academy will not just let one of the greatest resources in their time be taken from them, especially when it is so bountiful.
Greatest resource and greatest death upon this nation.
Rudy, I do believe you. I have seen the same horrors that you have. And if delirium were to be destroyed tomorrow, it may not affect me much. All I do is tell you the truth of the matter, and that is that there are very powerful people, including my father, that do not wish to see a change in the current ways.
Eldrick River, what would you suggest? I'm open to work with you, but destroying delirium is a must to save this world, in my opinion, and I am determined to do so. The Academy has existed far longer than delirium. What would you have me do?
If I may, Your Majesty, the
Please.
Academy Directorate, for some time, I worked with the mages of the Academy and with Sebastian and others. I had various plans to contain delirium so that the Academy could continue to use it. The Directorate, during this time, I directly reported to the Directorate about the progress of this research. And thus the Directorate, in my understanding, is utterly convinced that they can avert an apocalyptic scenario through the use of the Academy resources. That said, I am also of the belief that the Academy Directorate believes that they have the resources to survive even an apocalyptic scenario.
They're going to leave everybody else to their own devices?
I say this simply because yes, certainly. And if I was completely honest, given the situation, I myself have even looked into some of the magic involved, and yes, there are things that could be done, and especially if you wanted to save a few people. I was very interested by the encounter that we had with Walter Banemoon in the Elven Tower, and the story of the elves fleeing some sort of thing that coming to our world. Were they escaping something? Were they escaping perhaps the same thing that we face now? If so, what did they do? Could it be replicated? At what cost? I've pondered on these things for some time, and if I've been considering them, you have no doubt that the Academy Directorate has as well. I guarantee you that the Academy Directorate knows very intimately the ramifications of what delirium unchecked could do. They simply disagree over the course of action to take going forward.
Sebastian, chimes in. Well, the way I see it, that's a problem. And I think we need to make sure that we know who in the Academy is an ally and who is all, yeah, let's let the world destroy itself and we might try to contain it, but hey, we have backup plans. I don't like the way that that sounds. When I went to school in Paradox Castle, I was taught a lot of values. I didn't follow them. I tended to blow things up and, you know, do terrible things by accident all the time. But the lessons I learned are starting to grow on me. Rupert, the headmaster of Paradox Castle, he wouldn't agree with this. Valtar Banemoon, we need to talk to him again. He wouldn't agree with this. Ryan Greymere needs to be brought back in on this. I think that these three names are at least people that we can trust to represent what the Academy is supposed to stand for.
Sounds like the Academy might not be all thinking in the same direction.
It sounds like the head of the Academy might not be thinking the way we need it to. There's thousands of young mages in training being taught that the value is that they will be protected, that they will have a place in this world.
Especially thinking about my grandkids that are with the Academy right now. I don't feel mighty good about having a directorate that's trying to kill my friend over here while being in looking after my grandkids. That does not sit right with me.
No,
Sebastian,
I know that we have a... Go ahead, Raph.
I need you to understand maybe what you're asking. Are you prepared to take on the directorate? Are you prepared to cast aside delirium in all its forms to show its ugly nature? Your staff,
Raph,
your weapons. I do not say this as in an argumentative way. If we are to do this, we must be prepared for a war with the Academy, a war within the Academy. Because if we are to say that delirium has no place, we must shed it. And if they continue to use delirium, we know what its power contains.
Wrath, says Veo, chimes in. Wilhelm is asking what he asks of everyone, is to put the people of this nation and this world first. If the Academy Directorate isn't willing to do that, again, we're not asking any different of them. We're asking them to give up their selfishness. And I think if they can't get on board, then maybe we need to consider asking them with whatever means necessary to step down.
River says, in my experience, if you're asking people to give up their selfishness, well, you might as well ask a goose to give up its feathers.
River, I don't believe that. I'm the most selfish person I know. Everything I do is for me. I've made choices that have jeopardized the souls of my best friends because I thought it would be cool. So, if I can make these choices, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who can. And River, we became friends at school. Eldrick was my mentor. I was scooped up out of Emberwood Village. I was picked on as a kid. There were a lot of people who looked at me as being different. I set a house on fire. I blew things up with waving my hand. I was a problem child, and I got picked on and bullied a lot. And I've come a long way. Yes, I still blow things up. Yes, I still set buildings on fire on occasion, but mostly on purpose now. And to learn that not only are the tools that we've been using going to destroy this entire world? But the people in charge of these tools are just a bunch of bullies.
Sebastian, I've watched your progress for a long time. You are arrogant, and you are self-centered.
Thank you.
But I do not think it is necessarily sorry, what was the word that we
Selfish?
It is not just selfishness that possesses some, but greed. And selfishness and greed, that is a deadly combination. And you, Sebastian, maybe you can be selfish, but I wouldn't call you greedy.
I came from very little, and everything I've gotten has been a blessing in my life, even though I've screwed a lot of it up. And I just really want to make the right choice for once, and I feel it in my hole where a soul usually would be. I feel I just don't agree with this, the direction of the Academy anymore, and I'm sorry to say that, because I love everything I've been given. But after meeting Wrath's dad and after what I saw in the crater, those two events are really standing out to me. Also, the meeting that we had where we were on the moon with the Academy directors, and they were all kind of pretty evil sounding. It wasn't a good vibe. It wasn't the vibe I thought it was going to be, Eldrick. And I see good in you, and River. I see good in you. I see good in even Ryan Graymere's starting to make a lot more sense now with all the stuff she was preaching.
Eldrick speaks up one last time. I've been thinking about one other thing. We've had all this talk of respect, power, of greed. But Wilhelm, the Academy Directorate, if they believe that you are a threat to them, and they know they can get around it, they might try. But there is one thing that you can do that will protect you in a way that the Directorate will have to respect.
I'm all ears.
You need to wear the crown of Westamar.
Yeah.
You need to be attuned to its power and have that as your ultimate option should you need to use it. Until you have that, the Directorate could still move against you. But once you but the crown, the Continental Regalia, was put in place by the Edicts of Lumen, so that the monarchs did not need to fear the Directorate. But until you are properly attuned, you will have to fear them, because in your eyes, in their eyes, you're not the true king until you wear that crown.
And herein lies the choices before us. Unfortunately, we are on a time constraint. We have 3 months to clean house in Westamar. And it sounds like cleaning house has now gotten even more complicated. Not only do we need to rally the Dukes of Westamar and get them to unite under my name, but while doing so, we'll need to put a crown on my head and challenge the Directorate themselves to fall in line, or Same consequences as the dukes who stand up to us. This is a relatively insurmountable task, it seems, but I have faced insurmountable odds many times in the past year. And with the allies that I've made, and these people standing in this room, we have managed to do the impossible several times. So, let's say we try one more time.
Listen, I know we got a war ahead of us. What are you trying to say? But you know what? The best way we can deal with this is take it one battle at a time. Take what's in front of us, and we'll work our way up to winning the war. Together, we'll do it. Or we'll die trying.
Together.
Wrath, do you have anything to add?
You'll all die. I'll be fine.
Thanks, Wrath.
But I'll help you. But Bruce will protect me, so I'm not worried.
Well, I do think we should gather as many allies as we can in the coming 3 months. For you Academy members, Sebastian, Wrath, Eldrick, River, gather who you can. Perhaps bringing Ryan, and if we have access to Voltar, bringing them back in could be essential to us as well, to challenge the Directorate.
Oh, is someone going to keep an eye on Toddsfeld as well?
There's
We
much.
need somebody to keep an eye on Toddsfeld, by the way.
There's much to discuss, but we can have all this in some way together. Elias Drexel speaks again. We've got a tough fight ahead of us. We're going to have to deal with all of this, and who's to say who else might try to work against us in this whole process. Mages, thieves, knights, paladins, we've weathered it all though. And we've struggled through it, but we're still in this fight. I think we can do it.
Yes, the Queen of Thieves and Lucretia Matthias are still out there, and they have plans against us as well, so we have enemies on all fronts, but we also have allies in several places. I say we gather our things, and we'll discuss this further while we march for Geldstead.
And with that is where we'll end things for tonight. We will be back in a couple weeks on January 17th, back in the dungeon, playing together in person once more. But for tonight, a big thank you to our amazing cast, Kelly, Jill, and Joe. And thank you to all of you for putting up with all this online play for so long. We're so excited to be back together in person very soon.
Gasconade!
I'm so excited to hold everybody's hand, give you big hugs, ruffle
Slap you on
Joe's
the
beard. Joe's gonna poke me underneath the table to distract me. It's gonna be great. Jill's gonna strangle me at odd times. It's gonna be so good. I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait to be back in person with you guys. It's going to be awesome.
wait.
The photos you've been posting, Jill, have just gotten me so hyped up about it. It's really what fed this fire to I miss this.
Yeah.
I also want to say a huge thank you, though, to Kyle for all of the incredible work he does behind the scenes. You know what else this means?
We get Kyle back.
The thumb is gonna come back. The thumb, the Kyle thumb, coming back. So excited for that. And also a huge thank you to our Dungeon Master, Monty Martin.
Yes.
This was a very diceless game, but I think this sets the stage for big things to come in the latter half of Fate of Drakkenheim, and excellent job setting all of that up, Monty.
Hope so.
Trains
I hope
and
so.
moving.
Alrighty. Well, yeah. Any other thank yous or things to say before we wrap up tonight?
Well, as we wrap up, just a big thank you to all the amazing supporters and creators that produce some great and incredible assets that we use in our stream games. You got to see a bit of Roll20 with the maps. But thank you again for Tabletop Audio. Please check out and support some of these amazing creators, and we can't wait to show you what's coming.
Oh yeah, because all the minis and terrain are coming back.
Which also means Joe's list of thank yous are going to be much more consistent.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Of course, don't forget to look at the links below for our Teespring store. It was great to see a bunch of t-shirts out in the wild at PAX, but check out bit.ly/Dungeon Dudes merch.
Our videos and live streams are made possible because we have an amazing Patreon community that helps support our work. One other thing that we are looking at as well, so that you all know, is that we have had a wonderful Patreon community for a long time. That Kelly, what has been the main perk for those patrons?
Right now, if you join our Patreon, no matter what tier you're at, you gain access to our exclusive Discord where you can actually chat with Monty, myself, Joe, Jill, Kyle. The whole gang are in there chatting away all the time, as well as an incredible community of great fans of the show that are talking about Drakkenheim. They're talking about D&D. There's character builders, people finding groups to play with. But also we do monthly writers' rooms, where you can help Monty and I kind of detail out the upcoming scripts or get sneak peeks of stuff that's coming up. And we also do our Q&As, and the people on Patreon are the first to get access to submit questions for our Q&As or homebrew workshops.
Yes, and in 2023, we will be introducing some extra bonus content for our Patreon members. So stay tuned about that news, because our current patrons, you may be getting a little more. And new patrons, there might be even more reason to become a patron of our show. So we're hoping to bring some more bonus content and new things to our Patreon in the new year, as we work really hard to upgrade a lot of what we've been doing here at Dungeon Dudes. And that's been possible because we have such amazing patrons. So thank you so much to all of our Patreon supporters. And we're looking forward to giving you some new stuff in the new year too. So take care. And if you haven't joined our Patreon, check it out at patreon.com/dungeon_dudes.
And I guess don't join us next Tuesday because we're going to be on holidays because it's Christmas. But starting January 17th, you can join us. I think we're moving back to 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time at twitch.tv/Dungeon Dudes on Tuesday nights. And the video episodes go up on YouTube on Friday. And that will continue, but we'll be back in the basement.
And we will also be airing the audio-only format on all major podcast platforms as well. And you can always find all of our other great YouTube content at youtube.com/Dungeon Dudes. Thank you all so much for watching. Please have a safe and happy holidays. Merry Christmas. However the way that you celebrate at the end of the year, whether whatever holiday that you have and special in your heart with your family and your loved ones, or just with yourself. I hope that it is wonderful. I hope that it is safe. I hope that it is filled with happiness and good food.
That's always the important part. 'Tis the season to hibernate and eat a lot. So
Indeed.
I hope you all are doing that.
Indeed. With that, thank you all so much. See you in 2023 in Drakkenheim.